Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I am here with the boss, Allison, and we are doing another episode of Maintaining Frame. This is number 47 with the male feminist versus female feminist, but we're going to be doing a different segment. The statement is, I believe it's men need to be masculine to keep their families safe, and we'll see what the male and female, the male feminists and female anti-feminists have to say about that. But before we start, I guess Allison needs to say a few things, and I have some super chows that I want to read.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, we are doing our monthly fundraiser so we can continue to bring you this work, this analysis of societal trends and opinions based on actually including the issues that affect men. What a surprise. It enables you to predict a lot of stuff that seems to elude others. Anyways, if you want to make sure that we are able to continue this very unique work, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and throw a few shekels in the hat. Very, very much appreciated everybody who's supported so far. We have about 8 days left, and I know you guys, for whatever reason, like to wait till the last minute, but it's always appreciated when you put something in a little early so it takes the weight off of our minds. Once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. Every bit helps, so $5, $10 if you have it, go there and put it in. And if it's something that you want to do, then just put that open up another tab and put that link in there while you listen to us, to our dulcet tones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're that.
I think dulcet is the way to put it. So
yes. And also, if you want to send us a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's the best way to send us messages because you get a bit more space. You avoid YouTube's extremely fickle censorship and confusing. And we also get the full benefit of the monies that you send us that way. Yes. So that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
It's .com, right. Not .cown.
Cown.
Cown. .cown.
Cown.
CAWMM. Okay, but anyway. So let's look at, I got some, I don't know, do you have any thank yous that you want to give while we're live? In case there was stuff that happened like over the weekend?
Yeah, I think we didn't get much over the weekend. I think we got $10 from Silver Bullet, so thank you, Silver Bullet.
Thank you, Silver Bullet.
We had a lot of activity in the Super Chows over the weekend, though.
Yeah, I see that. Let's go through those.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know if I did this one. I think I did, but PaxMax gives us $10 and says, play it again, Sam. I think it was a soundbite I played. I don't know which one it was, though. Sorry. I think I did play it, though. Ethu Halinkwa, I hope I'm saying that right, gives us $100. Thank you, Ethu Halinkwa. I know I have an applause button over here somewhere, but that's okay.
You could search for it. Let me look at this.
No, I had it.
Ethu, isn't it?
I think it got deleted or something. I'll just give him a wow. An Owen Wilson wow. I think that's just about the same.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he says for 100, or she, I don't know who this, like the gender. I wanted to start off what was that?
Maybe the pronouns are cosmic.
Yeah, maybe they have. Yeah. No, their pronouns are wow. So Ethu says, I wanted to start off apologizing for not supporting you this way too often, as my finances are unreliable for the time being. However, what I really wanted to ask is whether you guys know any good books, TV shows, or movies showing a good relationship between the father and his children. Alternatively, if you know some literature, again including video media, about mentor characters essentially performing as fathers. Oh, there's so much.
Okay. A good recent one was that one with, I think, Tom Hanks with the robot teenager, and the dog.
I have no idea. Is that recent?
Yeah, it's recent. It's recent. Well, it was a good movie. I'm not so sure if it fits the bill with the mentor figure thing, but it did. It had a bit of that quality to it.
Yeah.
And it's a real tearjerker too.
Oh.
Um, yeah, I have to remember robot movie.
Yeah, that's kind of
Uh,
a. I mean, it's.
Fit
I,
Finch is
Finch.
what it was called. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
that's weird.
Yeah, and so he has to teach this his, I guess you could call it a robot son. Although how to survive and take care of the dog. And it is a sad movie, but it's also very uplifting in a way.
Hmm.
Never has opening a can of dog food been so dramatic and
Oh, really?
tearjerking. Yeah. But yeah,
Gryndor
that's a
says
good one.
says Sisk de Rat. I don't know if that's what if he's trying to answer your question, but
Fathers and mentor characters. Oh, I'm like for some reason blanking, but there was been um
there have been some.
65 wasn't bad. Like
Which
I
one?
know that it got panned by critics that did not understand it at all because it was really about a man who lost his daughter and took care of a girl on a hostile planet. They were space colonists, and I think that a lot of the critics didn't like it because I'm guessing they didn't understand the appeal. The appeal is, of course, that kind of paternal instinct in action. I thought it was not bad. I mean, it wasn't a hugely complex movie. It was just
Yeah.
survival horror. But I like the relationship between the two main characters, and that really is what matters, in my opinion, with survival horror is you care about the characters,
Yeah.
to some degree. So I thought that was pretty good. Thinking recently.
Well, this guy didn't ask for recently, but
Oh, okay.
it could be. I think it'll be a bit of a challenge. Although I do think that there are more films like that coming. Like coming out. Because when I think about movies that feature an adult and a child uh, working together, they tend to be a little bit more like Leon the Professional, like kind of creepy in a way, instead of like a straightforward like father and child relationship. Um,
Yeah, that was a little bit on the edge of unpleasant.
yeah,
Some more.
I mean,
Uh,
the movie's entertaining, but some of the stuff is I don't know a bit weird. Um,
I know more, but for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank.
yeah,
Yeah, let's come back to this. Maybe we can figure out a good answer to it, or I
okay.
can remember some stuff once I'm not pressuring my brain to perform, as it were.
There was this movie. I can't remember the name of it. It came out like in the 80s, I think,
Mm,
where this guy travels back in time and meets his father. It's not Back to the Future.
mm.
It's another one, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyway,
Yes. Okay, a 80s movie where my guy travels back in time to meet
guy
his
travels
dad.
back in time. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think The Incredibles is pretty good. Um, in my opinion, it's not. It's
He
about a
isn't
whole family,
raped by his
but
grandmother, is he? Or raped?
huh?
He isn't raped by his grandmother, is he?
Who?
The guy who travels back in time?
No, 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 no. It's not. Like I said, it's not Back to the Future.
Well, no, but that
It's.
didn't happen in Back to the Future. That I remember like an
Oh,
80s or 90s film that did that, where the guy became his own grandfather, except it was really, really fucking, really dark because his
yeah,
grandmother raped him at the point of a gun.
yeah,
But of course, it's played off like, ha ha ha, that's just courtship. Like, okay.
yeah.
Double standard. I think you're really fall.
Finding Nemo. If like I don't know if you ever seen that, but that's good. Pixar was pretty like good about stuff like that, like back in the day when they were starting out. When they still had Brad Bird. Um. So yeah, I mean those are just a couple that come to mind. Uh, a lot of it is I don't know. Mrs. Doubtfire, does that count? I mean, I think it's a father that's looking, he like disguises himself as a woman so that he can see his kids. So, because his wife is keeping the kids from him, I think. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I remember that movie.
Mrs. Doubtfire, come on.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's a good movie just for it is, but in terms of father and kid relationships.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find something.
I'm not even sure why we're drawing a lot of blanks. This is a really good question.
Yeah, we'll have to come back. The Road?
Yeah,
that's a good one, although it's super nihilistic.
Oh,
so,
yeah. It's depressing.
It is, but that's I think it makes that even more appealing. And you know what? I'll say for a video game, play the very first, not the fucking second one, but the first Last of Us is it's very good. I'm not gonna say go watch the HBO show. I don't personally think that it measures up. I think they changed too many things, but yeah, the first Last of Us game is great for that too. So, all right. Anyway, so thank you, Ethu Halikwa, for the donation, and we'll come back to this later. Probably something will come up. So, comment I made my husband quit porn because it's cheating. Gave us $5, and then they gave us another $5 and also left a comment. My comment got dropped. I said I suspect most men who watch porn are fantasizing themselves performing the act together with their significant other. I joked that it's sort of like an artist drawing inspiration from others' artwork.
That's possible.
I'll say that what I think people miss about men enjoying porn is the thing that I think is most exciting for men most of the time is not the man's pleasure, but the woman's pleasure. That's why it focuses on her reaction, on her ecstasy, because that's what men want to see in women, and that's what men want. They want to be a part of that in a way. So just my 2 cents, but that's what I think. So yes, the first Last of Us. And then Tornell gave us $5 yesterday and also didn't leave a comment. I wonder, is there something wrong with the comments?
No,
I think people are trying to leave comments, but
nothing has changed. So
okay,
I'm pretty sure. I mean, if the comments are going through, I imagine what may have happened is they got sticky fingers.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe clicked it too quickly, or Tornell just wants to support us.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to say anything, but I want to make sure that you, like, if you wanted to say something, that you're able to. So. Yeah.
Okay. So once again, if you want to send us a comment during this show or after the show is over, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
All right.
Shall we start?
Yes, let us away to the Bat Cave.
Yes, away.
All right. So we're going to be looking at this next question. Hopefully you guys should be able to hear this, so I'm going to go ahead and play it.
Men need to be masculine to keep their families safe.
I don't know why, but it's echoing. I don't know what that is. I hope that that's just right there for some reason. I don't know. I'm trying to see where that's coming from.
Are they saying it's echoing?
No, I heard an echo.
Of course he's going to step forward. Look at him. I think there's a reason why people love Andrew Tate. And whatever you think about him in regards to what he's being accused of, which he has not been proven, but that's neither here nor there, men gravitated toward that. Why? Because he's...
Can you hear that okay? Allison, can you hear that?
I can hear it. Okay.
Okay, I guess I'm getting an echo. That's okay. I'm reading the captions anyways.
Spoke to men in a sense of being a man, being a protector, and you have to be in charge of all your faculties and think more critically. So those aspects of masculinity appealed to men because men want to innately protect. If I go on a date and you take me out on a date and he's like, no, I wouldn't, but that's okay. And you take me to a dinner and you don't sit facing the door, I'm never going out on another date with you.
All right.
Okay, that's... interesting.
Weird flex, but okay. Never heard that.
Yeah.
That sounds very 1800s to me. So
Yeah, I mean, she has a grain of truth, you know. There's various kinds of ways that men can protect women, and I think there is an element of instinct to it for women. You can do it financially, you can do it socially, you can do it physically. I think it varies on what the woman in particular wants, or is in need of. So I would say that she's being honest. It's true.
yeah,
I think women are happier and feel more comfortable with men who can protect them.
sure.
I just wish they didn't turn around and say, but I am so afraid of, well, what do you think? Okay.
Yeah.
If he's capable of protecting you, all right, then you have to. And here's the other thing is that women who are too deep in this dynamic, they seem to flip from protector to some kind of demon really easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're not a little bit on top of it. So, but one thing I wanted to point out is like she called him, didn't she? She was like, yeah, of course he's coming over because look at him.
Yeah.
There's an unexamined element in his ape brain that he probably denies exists.
Yep.
There for why he looks the way he does.
Yep.
And walks and moves the way he does.
Yep.
He knows
and
exactly
even why
what
he supports feminism the way he does.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same thing.
Feminism is the new way that men sacrifice something in order to benefit women and protect women. And he's all about that. And you can tell. Yeah. So I just found it funny that she picked up on that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So despite being woo, she does understand people to some degree.
Oh yeah, no, she's like intuitive, and and I'm okay with her being woo. It's just it gives her character, I guess. That and the orange, the tomato colored dress with the cleavage and all.
Yeah.
I wonder if she. I mean. This is not like women don't make mistakes. Like this is not an accident. I think that she was like, I'm gonna dress like this and see how the male feminists react. You know. So.
Definitely, like it's an interesting combination of very highly sexual and also really eccentric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
She looks like she was attacked by a satin lufta.
Yeah, I think that she's some kind of counselor or therapist or something, because she always talks about like men that she works with, you know, and their problems, and she tries to help them and all that. So anyway,
yeah, and I mean, I guess it seems sort of trivial, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if she dated an unemployed guy who sat by the door instead of her, who knows? I mean, whatever. People have their reasons.
Well, what I think she's saying is that you have to, like, the men should be facing the door. Well, so the woman, because men and women tend to sit across from each other, the woman will be facing the man, but she will have her back to the door, and the man should be facing the door because I guess in the event that somebody comes in to like shoot up the place, I don't know what else it could be, he'll see it first and he'll be able to like put his body between the bullets and her. That's my guess. So
sort of like how our German Shepherd sleeps during the day at the door.
Yeah. Yeah, or like Jojo, he's laying down right behind me facing the only way to get into this room. And I mean, that's what he does. So yeah, that's kind of what she's expecting. And I guess like if anything, I could only fault it for being kind of old fashioned. Because I wouldn't, you know, like, that's like, you ever heard the thing where if a man and a woman are walking on a sidewalk, the man should be on the side closest to the street. Mm-hmm. And in the event that, like, you know, there's a puddle and a car drives by or something happens, some guy loses control, whatever, and the man has
or
to,
a nuclear bomb falls.
Yeah, then he'll get hit first, and he'll let her know to, you know, duck and cover. As he's disintegrating. You know.
Alright, that's really black. Okay.
He's just gonna he's just gonna be.
I'm just thinking, you know, our terrors are a little bit more cosmic at this point, aren't they?
Yeah.
I guess not for most women. They don't really comprehend geopolitics. Oh man, that was misogynist.
And then she'll catch fire and be like, so, okay. Let's keep going.
It's not like we're helpless, like, I can't do anything, but having a man stand by you, protect you and your family and your children, masculinity is very important.
There are situations, like, for example, like...
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, of course, he's like, he's going for the feminist Chad role, I think.
Yeah, he's alpha elite.
Overall, feminists
right there on his
men tend to be really competitive with other men, is what I've noticed about this. You remember the original Jubilee, Male Anti-Feminists versus Male Feminists?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the male feminists were almost like a caricature of combativeness and competitiveness with other men. They might as well just been like beating their chests, whereas the male anti-feminists were concerned about men. And, you know, they talked about how things made them feel. I just found that, didn't you just find that hilarious? Like, it was just a complete lack of self-awareness from the chest-beating male feminists. Complete lack.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, and I'm not surprised. I'm surprised the other three are like, no, it's not about protecting women. They probably still think it is, but they don't want to insult women, you know, girl bossing, you know, something. Yep. Because the way that they protect women is from the ether of contempt towards women's empowerment. That makes any sense. So it's just the substrate that destroys women's empowerment. The vague radiation that destroys women's faith in themselves, which is obviously not telling them that they're a victim of everything all the time, everywhere. Yeah. But it's something that they are trying to protect women from thought forms, not physically. I'm pretty sure that's why they feel excluded from this, because their expertise in protecting women is from thoughts. Mm-hmm. They protect thoughts from thoughts. You know?
Of course.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what Alpha Elite has to say.
30 pounds. My girlfriend's like 110, 5'2". Like, there's no way if somebody breaks in a house that she's gonna fight them off unless she has a gun on her or something. But so in that situation, I would fill that masculine role. But like anybody can be strong. Anybody, like in a situation where I'm not there, I would hope if we had kids, she could protect them and defend them like the best she could. Where I get the issue with like, oh, men need to be masculine. It's like, oh, men need to always go work and bring the money and all this stuff. Because my girlfriend, she's highly educated. She actually makes way more money than I do. Like,
just pausing it there for the banana.
I feel like they've stacked the deck with a feminist maxer guy. You know, some guy who's like, well, what I mean is that he's maximizing his reproductive potential using feminism. Yeah. Yeah. Which, you know, maybe he should make seminars on that if it's working for him. Who knows?
So he's got a girlfriend. She makes more money than him. And
she's half his size.
She's smaller than he is, yes.
There. Yeah.
Now, I honestly hope that works for them.
Yes, I do. I really hope.
I do, but it might be a problem.
Not.
Like she might become resentful. You know, that happens. And
but on the other hand, he, like I said, he's feminist maxing, so he can at least sort of guilt trip her about, well, you're not being very feminist if you leave me.
Yeah, I guess he could. But she is the woman, so that might not matter. She could just say he's mansplaining and then leave it.
Yeah, it's really hard to get some kind of moral leverage over women when you're a guy. Okay.
All right.
But like what I'm getting at is some male feminists actually seem to manage to do that. They manage to get some moral leverage over women. Yeah. So that's what I meant by feminist maxing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's like trans maxing, except with this.
Right.
which is actually really, really depressing in a way. But if it works for some individual men, have at. If you can manage to carve a decent life doing this, who am I to say no?
Well, yeah. Again, if you both agree this is like a good system and you think it works, great. But she's still just your girlfriend. Like,
She hadn't put a ring on it.
I don't know if he's planning to marry her. I don't know if he's like not interested in that at all or what. But I'm just saying, like, this relationship that you're about to say is super successful may not have been tested.
But this is interesting. Notice how he's standing up for his value proposition in his relationship.
Yeah.
He's standing up for how he sees himself as more powerful than his woman in his relationship. What a surprise, right?
That's right.
He can't turn around and say, hey, actually, maybe this is something that affects all men. They may be trying to stand up, or in the past tried to stand up for what they felt made them desirable to women. Like earning more, having more access to the ability to earn, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's interesting. I wonder if he's even aware of that he did that. Because he's standing up for his value proposition, what he considers attractive in terms of hypergamy to his partner. Even if it's under a subconscious level. Whereas those other guys, I'm guessing they don't see that as their value proposition to women. Again, their value proposition is to defend them from thoughts.
Yeah.
Bad thoughts. Okay,
let's keep going.
Like way more. I work as a personal trainer. I don't make as much as she does. It is traditionally not very masculine for a woman to make more money than a man. And I know some people, they will be like, oh, you're not a real man if your woman makes more money than you. That's pathetic. Why is she with you? You sound like a loser. Things like that. And I don't let that define my masculinity. I used to be insecure about it, but now I've grown more mature, and I feel like we're getting to a society where that's less of a problem.
Well, who is it that's saying that a man that makes less than a woman is a loser? Is it men?
Yeah, all the women who are divorced.
It's women, right? Yeah. Like, if you want to change that, then you're going to have to change women's perspective on that. And I don't know how that's going to work, because what you'd have to do is you'd have to meddle with people's preferences. And that's just wrong. That's like, I don't know, that's like a straight man saying that lesbians have to have sex with him or whatever, right? So you're running up against a brick wall. So it's easy for you to point at men or patriarchy, which is basically men, and say, oh, it's because of you people that I'm called a loser because I make less than my girlfriend. No, it's women. Women are the ones that set the bar. Women are the ones that say, how much that a man should make, how tall they have to be, how big their dick is, like how much of a pack they got. Like they go by all that. Okay, men are different standards. And I'll say that men do want to feel like they can provide, and that is a thing, but it's because they know that they believe that if they don't, then the women will grow to resent them. And there's plenty of stories of women who divorce men because they didn't make enough.
Well, the single biggest risk factor for divorce around the world is male unemployment, period.
Yeah.
So this is a huge issue. It isn't. You can't blame the patriarchy. What you could blame the patriarchy for doing is in the past not letting women walk away. The alleged patriarchy, not letting women walk away from their partners when they were unemployed. But you can't blame the patriarchy for making women want men who earn more than them. It's just that's from women. That is them. That is their decision. That's their selection.
Yep.
And just like most mammals on the planet, most birds on the planet, and most animals on the planet are defined by female mate choice to a degree, because there's also some male mate choice that happens too. It's not as clear cut as a lot of people make it out to be, but it is a huge force. Maybe it's a bit less in a pair bonding species like ours, but it still is there. Men are expected to engage in behaviors that make them attractive to women. And a healthy society allows for the largest number of men to become desirable to women, and structures itself in such a way to make that happen. And I think that's, in some ways that's reasonable, because, it's going to be a long time before we can successfully genetically engineer human beings to be completely androgynous, I guess, in their interests and their desires. So maybe what we should start with is simply recognizing that it is essential, not just to men and women, but the functioning of our society, that our society, actually, you could almost look at a society being the means by which men make themselves attractive to women. So they develop the pro-social status that makes women interested in them sexually and also socially. You see what I'm saying? So when men come together, they develop the skills, they develop the material wealth, they develop the culture, they develop the music, whatever. They develop things that make them attractive to women. And the sum total of all of that activity is what we term a society. And when society decides that it no longer has to attend to the things that create it, well, that's not good. That's not a society with a future. And also men are disenfranchised. But that requires, I think, thinking about these things on a lot deeper level. And I don't think this guy is at that level, I will say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to add, though, he said he's a personal trainer, and I that sounds like it's not a bad job. And I looked it up, and personal trainers make close to $19 an hour on average in California, which I'm pretty sure that's where this guy is, because I think that's where this show is, Jubilee. So he's not doing bad. That means that his girlfriend has, like, I don't know, some kind of cushy Silicon Valley desk job or something. She's not working in Foot Locker, that's for sure. So just saying, like, that money isn't bad that he's making. And, people can live within their means, even if they're both on minimum wage.
This reminds me of a weird thing that I noticed in a mall when I went to Calgary. There were 2 Foot Lockers, and one of the Foot Lockers was entirely staffed by women.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and they said it because, we want to make female customers. And I'm like, oh, God. Did I just walk back into Saudi Arabia? Stop that shit. Stop it now.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need
where are the trans
segregation.
women going to go? Anyway.
Oh, God.
They should just go in the women's Foot Locker.
If you want to have this kind of strict segregation because you're terrified of men, then you literally cannot embrace trans rights. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing lived out. Because especially not trans rights in terms of, if you just identify as a woman, we'll consider you a woman, or identify you as non-binary, then you'll be able to go into the women's, like that. You can't, because that's like creating a wall out of wicker. All right. The people just go poke through it, and it just won't work. And I'm not on either side of this debate. I think it's ridiculous. Well, the trans debate, keeping men out of women's, or trans women out of women's spaces.
I mean, I'm not involved in that either. I mean, like the basically it was women that created this problem. So as far as I'm concerned,
they can deal with it. All right, let's keep going. So I think we're a little bit in the reeds.
Yeah.
And like some people might disagree with this, and but it's just my opinion. I think to raise a son, it's easier if you're a man. It doesn't have to be a father. It could be an uncle or some positive role.
I'm telling you.
Same thing.
What?
I said that this guy is a feminist. Originally, when I saw him, I said that this guy, he may sound like a woke, but I think he's feminist maxing.
Yeah, well, he did come forward, like I think he's the only male feminist that came forward on the men need to be masculine to keep their families safe thing, because obviously that's kind of his identity.
His thing.
He's like maximizing his disposability in a way, because he's saying, well, I'm willing to, right? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, he's also saying things that would usually get him excommunicated by feminists, like boys need male role models.
Yeah.
So I have a sense that this guy is using feminism for his own ends.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no,
whatever, like he's camouflaged himself expertly with the feminism. Okay.
That is a good way to look at it. Okay.
with a positive feeling along, because like I don't know what it's like to be like a female going through puberty, but I was a young man. Right now, a lot of our young men are misguided, and a lot of them are making bad decisions, and it's because like a lot of these young men get this testosterone boost, their brains aren't fully developed, and they like the vast majority of crimes are committed by 16 to 23-year-olds.
The reason I walk forward.
Okay,
Yeah,
real quick.
Single moms too.
Single
but from
moms.
single mom
Yeah,
homes.
no, that's way more important because the shit that's happening in our like big cities in the United States, it's not just because boys are hitting puberty, because that never happened historically. Okay? And it's not just like the no father or no father figure thing is a big part of it. It's a very big part of it, but the single mother thing is the other half of the same equation. So
Okay, I just wanted to do a thank you because we
Oh.
did receive something.
Okay.
We got $100 from Meredith G. So thank you, Meredith G.
Thank you, Meredith G.
Hello there.
You have a sound. Ooh. Sorry, I ruined your sound. Oh, God. I
How
jumped
much
on
was
your
it?
sound. $100.
Oh yeah, well I gotta add a little.
Okay, and if you would like to join
That's
the very
pretty cool.
generous,
That's
say
a
to
big
do it
goal.
again. It's a big girl. Okay, if you would like to join the very generous Meredith G, once again, it is feedthebadger.com/support. Everything is really appreciated because it allows us to continue to.
Meredith is the best. She is the best.
Yeah, she's the OG.
Yeah. We're not worthy
Okay.
of your charity. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's see what. But yeah, single moms. That's like the thing that no one wants to bring up, and we have to be the ones to do it.
Is about exactly what you just said. Men have these feelings and this aggression often deep inside them, and it's about using that aggression or those feelings that you have to protect rather than to inflict.
I
Okay.
wouldn't call it aggression.
No.
I think
think
that's a
that
loaded
men-
word.
What's really happening is men have what they call altruistic punishment. They have an urge towards altruistic punishment. What that means is when someone defies the norms of a group and hurts members of it, men are more inclined to sacrifice to punish that person.
Yeah.
So they will literally treat themselves as expendable if they feel like someone is a danger to the group in order to punish them. It doesn't really have much to do with aggression. It has more to do with self-sacrifice. Women actually are very aggressive when you take out the issue of self-sacrifice. So, for example, they found that women make better drone pilots because they deal with the pressures of killing other people better.
Mm-hmm.
People are not apparently not aware of that, or it hasn't really sunk in. Women are better at murdering when they don't have to deal with any risk to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They deal with the psychological issues around murdering better. They are much more capable, apparently, of pulling the trigger. So, and I mean, you can even see that with what Russians found out with snipers, female snipers. They're a lot more ruthless. So it's not men that are more aggressive. Women are more aggressive. It's men that are more sacrificial of themselves in the pursuit of justice. So
Yeah,
she's
and it
wrong.
makes sense from a evolutionary standpoint too, I think.
Yeah.
So
We understood this a while back. What was I forget who said it, the female is more deadly than the male.
I don't know.
Lawrence,
I've
maybe?
heard that a bunch of times.
But it was about how you just kill yourself before you get taken by the women of a tribe because they will make you suffer. It's usually in like a tribal setting, it's the women who are responsible for the torture, and often the raping of prisoners. This is another thing. This is like the dark side that we don't talk about when it comes to women. And so she's wrong. It's not that men are more aggressive. It's that they're more self-sacrificial. And, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot for men to become aggressive towards women. Usually it takes having been severely abused by one.
Well, I was gonna say,
And-
yeah, like if you want to see like I think most aggression from men, especially young men, is it does come from, abuse from their mothers and just not having someone there to like help them, learn how to. I don't want to say control, but like, to behave measured.
You know what?
What?
You know what I think it actually is? It's that they don't have a father to protect them from
Yeah.
their mother. It has nothing to do with like an innate aggression. It's that
Protect them from their
father
mother.
is there. Yeah, protect them from their mother's violence. Protect them, or make it so the woman doesn't, the violence doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
Or the woman directs the violence at the father. That kind of
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's
I mean,
funny it's funny you say that because I haven't had him on in a while, but Jesse Lee Peterson used to say that a lot. He say that you need a man in the home to protect their kids from their mother, and
I don't think he's wrong.
huh?
I mean, and it's not like if you have a well-adjusted woman and a well-adjusted man, I mean, that's not an issue. That's not the families we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about families where the woman is violent, and
Yeah.
in that kind of family, the father can often absorb her violence or redirect it or protect it or at least contextualize it, and a lot of dads who deal with abusive wives do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I would imagine that a two-parent house means that the woman is less stressed in the first place, so she's probably going to be less violent overall.
A lot more stable.
But the point is that it's not some inherent aggression
No.
in boys. It is the fact that
Well, just having a
they
man in
don't
the
have-
house acts like a
Yeah.
bit of a stopper, right? Just like nothing has to happen. It's just knowing that he's there, because then the women, or the mother or the wife, whatever, she might feel more secure because there's a man there.
Mhm.
And I think that when women become fearful, and they
Yes.
that's when they can be violent.
Yeah, there's a
and,
lot of, like with women, a lot of the aggression comes out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So with a man in the house, there's probably less fear, honestly, which leads to less abuse and less stress.
Yeah.
Like it's it can be like a vicious cycle, and I'm not like casting aspersions on women.
No.
This is just statistical truth. So, and if we're going to move forward as a species, we got to be honest with ourselves and stop viewing women through this angelic lens that is 100% wrong, and viewing men through this demonic lens that's 100% wrong.
Yep.
Anyway,
Well,
let's
that's why,
keep-
again, somebody in the chat just said, meanwhile, society keeps saying it's the fathers who are more abusive than the mothers. That's just to keep us from talking about the mothers. Like, it's...
Yeah, it's not true.
And then people, a lot of people buy into it.
How can fathers be more abusive? Like, think about it logistically.
Yeah.
Most single parent families are female led.
Yep.
How is it possible that no, it's not? And the other thing is that statistically, you don't find that fathers are more abusive than mothers.
Yep. My father
Oh.
I think he only spanked us once, and it made him cry afterwards when I was like a teenager. And but my mom, she was quick, and I'm not casting aspersions against my mother either, but she was just quicker to use force, like the belt, than my father was. He didn't want to do it, So, and I
And then
think
there's
that my
other kinds
father
of abuse
did
that-
help, like my mom, to curb that, because he was there and he
There's
would
other-
basically like intervene and be like, no, let's do this another way. So.
There's another form of abuse that I see women do a lot, which is parentifying their children, and I think that might be there might be some incentive towards that. Like, it's not a physical form of abuse, but it's a mental form of abuse, where a single mother might force her son to take on the role of an adult man in providing and protecting for her, and the child is not ready for that kind of role, and it induces an insecurity and a form of like insecure aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is not, and the ultimate point is that she's saying that this is some kind of innate aggression. As far as I can tell, it isn't.
No, it's not. Testosterone is not aggression. That's what they're usually referring it to.
If you raise a boy in a two-parent household without violence or any kind of abuse, you are going to get a normal boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be an aggressive, violent kid. Like, even if he's a sociopath, as long as he isn't motivated by abuse, for the most part, he'll just be a slightly ruthless character, you know?
Yeah.
He won't be violent, he won't be criminal. He might be drawn to the professions in which he can use that kind of lack of empathy to some good or gain status through it, but he's not going to be violent. It takes abuse. Yep. And we need to decouple this idea that maleness is inherently aggressive from decouple it and recognize, no, it's just boys reflecting the abuse that they've received.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's see what the male feminists have to say about this.
I guess I'm just not entirely sure what, like, just masculinity in general has to do with keeping people safe.
Could I quickly?
Well, I mean, you're a trans man. So what, not to dunk on you, but you probably haven't been doing this whole masculinity thing very long.
Ukraine, friend.
Huh?
That's what it has to do. The Ukraine, friend.
Yeah.
Conscription of every man between, what was it, like 18 and 55 to protect the country? That's what it has to do with it. It's not just that men are inclined towards these kinds of sacrifices. It's that they enforce them on each other. That's what masculinity has to do with it. Yep. I can't imagine. I can't imagine a world in which women enforce the expectation that they sacrifice for their society, for their country, for whatever, on each other. I mean, that would just be the closest I can think of is Israel.
Yep. Oh yeah. What are you talking about? That there are women in the military?
Yeah.
I mean, there are, I know, but I don't know that they're doing the same work that men are doing.
No, they're not doing the same work, but they're certainly doing more sacrifice than almost every other group of women on the planet.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. So, I mean, it's like, I can't imagine. Can you imagine a society in which women expected each other to die to protect their society? That would not look like our society. So yes, it's associated with masculinity. I think it would make a much better society, but that's not the one that we deal with now. And yeah, so that's an aspect of masculinity. Men will enforce this obligation of protection onto each other. And we are at a point where this obligation of protection, it feels like, well, I mean, they're protecting women against other men. Well, throughout most of human history, that was against animals, dangerous animals, or weather, or starvation. There's more out there. It's just because we've become the dominant life form and nothing really challenges us, except if you're in like the wilderness areas and you piss off a bear and the bear kills your family. But, that doesn't happen as much anymore. But what I'm saying is, it's not just that men are willing to sacrifice, it's that they're willing to sacrifice other men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what this girl's going to say.
Quickly respond, and that I just think it's that men have that natural propensity towards it. If I think of roles in society that are protectors, we could say police officers, anybody who's going to take on that role of physical aggression in order to stop a bad situation from happening. Men tend to take those roles, and if you just look at the demographics of those roles in particular, men choose to take that on, and they persevere and drive for it.
Okay, she's right.
Yeah, she's right. The other thing is that, like, women are terrible cops. So, like, this is the thing, okay? So we got more women in the police force. We have more women that are firefighters. We have more women in the military. But the problem is that we have this, like, fantasy that women can do just as well. Like, they're characters in a fighting game that are just balanced, right? Like, they have different advantages. But the reality is that they alter the requirements for women. They lower the bar so they can get in. And when they're really tested, they struggle. And I've seen lots of videos of female cops trying to hold down a suspect, a criminal, whatever. And of course, if they're men, which they usually are, they overpower them and they escape, like, every time. Because and again, I'm not saying that, like, that no woman could ever do it. I'm saying that it's not, like, what we're trying to do, or at least what our institutions are trying to do to give women equal access, is going to harm people. Like, it's going to harm that woman. It's going to harm any people that she's trying to protect. Like, my wife wanted to be a firefighter. Lindsay was like, she was really fit. She went to the gym. She was like, I mean, she's a beast, okay, of a woman right now. And she couldn't pass the test because she had, like, other limitations, right? And she had to, like, carry people. Like, she was supposed to carry people. That's what firefighters do. So it's not just, I mean, it is partly because that's the kind of stuff men want to do. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop, for example. I think that they find the idea of serving people, you know, ambulance drivers, paramedics, police, military, firefighters, they're drawn to it. It's romantic to them. And we used to celebrate that stuff too when men did it. But we've made it really hard to do that job because we've lowered the bar for women. Like, the criminals aren't going to lower the bar, right? So anyway, I'm just saying, like, women are less effective. I'm just saying they are. So
I'm going to make a counterpoint to that.
Okay.
I agree that there are lots of physical issues that women have in the context of all of this. However, and this is the one thing that actually makes me hesitate to get rid of female cops. If there's a man who's being abused by a woman, he's better off with a female cop. We're not just dealing with male criminals, we're also dealing with the bullshit that female criminals engage with.
Yeah, sure.
And women see through that a lot quicker than men do. As long as they're not feminist, you know, as I told Karen and you, like, like last month, I think, the one thing that makes me hesitate about having women in any kind of capacity, social capacity, in terms of, like, the maintaining the edge of civility, is feminism. If you got rid of that, I would say there would be a place for female cops. In particular, making sure that male men are treated, when they're up against female criminals, they aren't treated themselves like the criminal. And I think that that's valuable, but it has to come from recognizing that men and women have different strengths and abilities. Like, a woman can see straight through the bullshit that other women do. It's why I think that feminists are so full of shit, because I know they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I know they know what other women are doing.
Yeah.
But they continue to lie for their own benefit.
Right.
And women cops are able to see through that in a way that I don't think male cops are. And it's because men are primed to be concerned about women's safety.
Yeah.
And women's victimhood.
Yeah.
And, male cop faced with a crying woman, now he's being basically manipulated and assaulted in a different way. Female cop's going to be like, yeah, fuck that, lady.
Yeah.
Stow your tears. Let's look at the evidence.
Yeah.
Now, if we can be honest about the benefits and the detriments of women cops, and also the difficulties of integrating men and women in these kind of scenarios, then that would be a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I think that women cops can play a role that is more suited, right? So, like, if they're like taking reports or speaking with the people involved in whatever the dispute is, and especially if it's a woman that's the aggressor, like a domestic violence situation. Yeah, I think a woman would be better because she would be able to see through the bullshit, where men are not likely to, because, like you said.
Well, here's the other thing.
But I was purely referring to, like, the physical stuff. But I think that...
Yeah, I know what you...
Yeah.
The other thing is that women set up these networks, like... the problem with eventually getting rid of crime is that it's almost like crime forms around women, if that makes sense. Like terrorist networks form around women. Like you noticed Antifa form around women.
Yeah.
They form the nucleus for these kind of the deterioration of the boundary between civility and incivility. And they justify it and they cement it. And I would honestly say if we ever want to make any progress against these social ills, we'd probably be better off with women investigating this stuff and women breaking it apart. The nucleuses that these things form around, the moles, the female gangsters, the female terrorists, and that is going to be something that I think women would have to do. And then that would be actually solving things on a much more fundamental substrate level than what we're doing now, which is just managing it. But that might be something just to cogitate on and think about, because it may be a complicated idea. So
yeah. But again, like worth talking about. But I think that Amala, this is the black woman here, she's basically saying like at the end of the day, there are jobs that men are more likely to pursue, and there are jobs that women are more likely to pursue. And it would be nice if we saw a little bit more crossover, because, like, for example, women dominate in education, and I'd like to see more male teachers. But the problem is that I think that even when there are when there are men who want to be teachers, they have to deal with the stigma of being men essentially around children, because we already have this kind of like, threat narrative that if there is any predation on children, then it's men that are more likely to do it. And that's just not true. So, but again, one of those conversations that people are not having because it's uncomfortable. But I'd like to see more male teachers. My best teacher was a male teacher. So anyway.
Let's say I get married to a guy and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad. That's fine. I enjoy working. So I actually wouldn't be totally opposed to me grabbing the gun if an intruder came in and being the one to kill somebody, if my husband's normally like the one protecting the kids, I guess. I don't think it necessarily matters who's protecting the family, just somebody must.
All right.
All right, so this is becoming sort of confusing to people, I think. So I think that men naturally want to protect their families. I think it's an instinct. And they're women. However, I am at 100% opposed to obligating it.
Yeah.
And the expectation, or alternatively, and the other thing I would really wish people would stop doing, and this is something I've noticed with conservatives as well, or even more maybe than feminists, is they keep insulting the modern generation of young men as being unmanly and not being able to do something like a World War I. It's like, dude, please. There was nothing that society could expect from young men or teach them to prepare them for World War I. They did it because the masculinity was inherent to them. This ability or this desire to put themselves in the path of danger to protect their society was innate to them. That's why that's why they could be exploited in that way to that degree. Mm-hmm. So stop saying that boys today are somehow doing something to themselves to emasculate themselves.
Yeah.
What's actually happening is, I'm pretty sure that since there was absolutely nothing that 19th century British society or anything in the 19th century could do to get young men ready for that war, I think what's actually happening today is that there isn't any, and you know what? It actually also happened then too, but there isn't any recognition from conservatives or feminists that masculinity is good. And there's no recognition from feminists that masculinity is good. There's no recognition from conservatives that it's innate. That goodness is innate to men. And how many times do men have to sacrifice themselves en masse so that society can continue to enjoy the prosperity that it does, How many times do they have to do that before they get a break from being told, oh, you're so feckless and emasculated and you don't, like, seriously.
Yeah.
We have tested masculinity how many times in the last century? You know, and in my opinion, it's always risen to the expectations of protecting society. Young men have always risen to that. And I guarantee that with the World War I generation, there was a bunch of old fogies talking about how modern age has emasculated the young men. And then they go and send them off to war, and they continue to talk about how modern age has emasculated the young men as they're standing up to being thrown into a fucking meat grinder and steel hail. You know, and it's just sickening. And I bet they did that the same in the 40s, too, before we did it again.
Mm-hmm.
Look, get over yourselves. Young men are brave. Young men will sacrifice themselves for the betterment of society if we ask, if we demand it of them. Young men are not the problem. What the problem is that we are living in the shadow of an unexamined genocide, which was World War I. And we are completely ill-prepared to examine how it happened, why it happened, the pressures that caused it, which include women shaming men. Because we couldn't have done it without women shaming men into it and then shaming the harm that was done to men afterwards, hiding it from view. We wouldn't have been able to do it. We wouldn't have been able to stand ourselves. But that's the case, and now we're continuing to not examine the processes that make men expendable. And unfortunately now we're at the place where we've made them so expendable, we've made their identity, the very identity that allowed them to maintain this expendable, which is not the same as masculinity. It's simply saying, men, if you do this thing, society will in some way think that you're good for having done it. We're getting rid of that because we can't do that because that would exclude women, you know, that would be insulting to women, you know, and now we are enjoying the fruits of that. This entire unexamined mess that started well before any of us were born. Okay.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Let us move on.
All right, let's move on.
Like what you said about intuition though, like my wife has a lot of intuition. I think she's better than me at like helping us avoid unsafe situations.
But to physically combat a stranger that's at your door with a gun, a mask on, and is breaking in.
Yeah, it's convenient to have someone who's more like him than.
But would you send your wife
But I
who's
just don't think
intuitive to
men-
use her intuitive powers to handle that, to protect? Or would you use your masculine, my daughter's protected, I'm going down there?
If we get attacked, I'm going to do everything I can to protect my family.
Well, of course you are. So,
man.
like, there's nothing wrong with that. That is, you're being masculine. Masculinity doesn't mean, you know, muscles and the ability to like lift heavy things. Like it's what you do. So you're telling us with your actions what you seem to disagree with in terms of like.
Yeah, well, the problem is, again, they have a different concept of how to protect women. What this guy's doing is like, I want to protect women from feeling insulted by me being praised as a man as a protector.
Yeah, that's it.
He doesn't want
That's
his
it.
wife to feel like she's less because he's able to confront. When the reality is that, you know, it's more like he's the expendable one. That's why he's confronting.
Yep.
But that's simply it. He's trying to protect women from the quote unquote insult of being lesser or seen as weaker. Because that's, like I said, he is the one who protects the thoughts from the thoughts. Like the dude with the muscles, he wants to be seen as the one who protects his wife from the things, not the thoughts.
Yep.
So this is just like two gangs. Like, yeah, we protect the women from the thoughts. We protect the women from the things. And it's like, okay, but could we talk a little bit about protecting women? The necessity of this? Especially when you're protecting women against imaginary upsets. You know?
Yeah. It's like what they're running
And
up
also-
against is these anti-feminist women are basically just tradcon women, but that doesn't really make them much different from feminist women because all those women want men to sacrifice for them. One of them says thank you and the other one doesn't, but these women are saying
no.
Actually,
Actually, conservative women don't say thank you.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm saying at
They
best
just
they might.
simply say, "Oh, you're an awful you're an awful man if you don't."
Yeah.
Like maybe some conservative women say thank you, but I'm not seeing a lot of that lately.
Well, I don't know. I guess I'd have to be there when the chips are down. But what I was gonna say is that they're kind of like experiencing the logical consequence of things that they promoted. So when men start saying, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to be sexist by protecting you. So go and protect yourself. And by the way, don't use a gun because I'm against the Second Amendment. So do your best. All right, I believe in you. Strong and powerful. Feel empowered." And the women are like, "No, I don't. Not like that." Like So this is kind of a mess that they made. So. But anyway, let's keep going.
That's not men having to be masculine. I just think that's people protecting those they love. I think
see what I'm saying?
If women are put in situations where they have to protect their families, they can exert tremendous force. Obviously, they're more vulnerable.
He's trying to protect women.
Yeah, he's protecting women from thoughts.
He's
from the
protecting
idea
women
that,
from,
in
they might
general,
not be good at something.
Men are the ones that are going to make a sacrifice and take a risk to protect their family.
What a surprise that the reedy quasi-intellectual guy is like, my protection is better than your protection. I'm protecting women from the thoughts, the bad thoughts that other men project onto them.
Yeah.
That women cannot resist because they're not weaker than me, but weaker than me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can't allow that women be insulted by the idea that men are more protective. I have to protect yon lady fair.
So I got a
self-demonstrating example.
I got a super chat from Albernator Retro. I want to read it before I forget. He gives us $5.50 Canadian and says, "We could send Karen and 2 mannequins to debate Gloria Steinem, Catherine Spillar, and Silky Schultz, and Karen would still win. But that's why they would never talk to her.
No,
or any of us,
they would
for that
never.
matter." Huh?
No, they would never talk to any of us.
No.
Because yes, we would probably annihilate them. And I would probably start talking and they wouldn't understand what the hell.
Yeah.
What is this black speech? Are you summoning demons?
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's keep going, but thank you for the super chat. Do you have any thank yous to give or anything like that?
No.
Or do you want to twist some arms?
I should probably do it. Yeah, I'm not in the best arm twisting mood, to be honest, but
okay.
Once again, feedthebadger.com/support. Please do help us out because, we don't exist if you don't help. And I want to continue to exist. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. Stalled out a bit. So if you have that $5 that you'd like to throw in, that would be really appreciated. Feedthebadger.com/support. And also, if you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
Yep.
Very much appreciated. Okay.
All right.
How much more do we have to this?
Oh, it's almost over. There's like a minute left? Less than a minute?
Oh gosh.
So
right.
Typically, as strong on average.
Pumped full of testosterone, right?
But I just don't. I don't think this is something men have to do. I think you gotta be careful.
Okay, that's a good point.
Well, yeah. I think that
the competitive thing, I think.
The statement is men need to be masculine to keep their families safe. And I don't like the framing of that statement because if we...
Well...
Go ahead.
The framing is something like, men are masculine, that's why they keep their families safe. That's the framing I would use. And I can I have a little bit of sympathy for the feminist guy when he says need to, really. But the problem is that I think he's going at it from, I don't want to insult women by saying it's masculinity.
Yeah, because the assumption is that masculinity is better than femininity,
in some way.
Yeah. But I think that the thing is too is that men have been beaten down by feminists, by academics, by the elites, by war, by plastics in our food, by soy, like by removing the fathers from a home. There's like all of these factors that have been, some of them much more impactful. Some of them work slowly over time. If you don't believe me, look into phytoestrogens, and like it's in a lot of stuff that we use and consume. And now they have lower testosterone levels than I think like in any time in history. And it is affecting their behavior. They're basically like, they have like higher levels of estrogen. They're they're feminized. And so like the thing is that now that that's happened, and it's not their fault, but we're still holding men to the same standards as men in like the early 1900s and the 1800s and the 1600s, because things were very different. And now that like when you have these statements like men need to be masculine, well, why don't we stop shaming men? Why don't we stop finger wagging and we try to figure out how to solve this problem? How to like, put men back in their proper place, because that's why men are, or like a proper place, because that's why men are struggling with their masculinity. They're looking for role models. They're looking for help. They watch Jordan Peterson. They get shamed for it. They get called names. They're called incels, whatever. They go to Andrew Tate. They get shamed for it. They get called names. They get called misogynists. It doesn't matter, right? It's like no one wants to help them, but they all want to have something to say about it. And I think that...
And what they have to say is increasingly unhelpful.
Yeah, of course. So like, if you're just going to keep going down that road, the first thing I think you have to do if you want to start changing stuff is to say, masculinity is good, and men should...
Something to strive for.
Yeah, it's something to strive for. Men should observe it.
To preserve,
men should
perhaps, would be the...
want to promote it, and even women can use a little masculinity. I don't mean like in the form of a pill. I mean like like I don't know, like women should learn stoicism. Like they, I don't think it needs to be like there needs to be a hard line that's like, only men do this. Like, no, I mean, if you really want to be an independent, a woman, then you need to go for it. Don't just say it. You don't just get to make a declaration, I'm independent. That doesn't mean anything.
It's an act. That's a masculine understand. Like, it's not a performance, it's an act.
Yeah.
That's something that men understand a lot more implicitly than women do.
Yeah.
And the thing is that masculinity there's like a way that men approach their environment that's informed by having more testosterone, having that higher risk threshold, and all of that almost forms its own cultural learning. And then women can become better people by incorporating aspects of that cultural learning into their own behavior.
Yeah.
You could probably do the reverse too. Men tend to actually be pretty good at self they tend to be pretty good at just dealing with mental health issues and dealing with trauma and stuff like that, better than women.
Yeah.
But there is an aspect of being able to set boundaries, being able to say no, and being able to recognize when people are infringing on you that women have that men could benefit from, in my opinion, from what I've observed. And so there's strangely enough, men and women are better when they learn from each other.
Yeah.
Shocker.
I know, it's crazy. It's almost like we're meant to be complementary.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anyway, he says, I think you got to be careful about
putting pressure on men to embody some sort of like macho, tough, violent.
I don't think it's macho.
Because the thoughts need to be saved from the thoughts.
This is the thing that really pisses me off about this toxic masculinity conversation, because they just bring in this baggage, like violence is something unique to men. Like having machismo is like automatically just bad. Like you're just, I don't know what it even means. Does it mean you're putting cigarettes out on women's asses? Like, what does it mean to be the macho thing? It's like, that's one of our words, right? That's our word. So you don't get to just like drag it through the mud, but they do. They you know, I don't know.
You mean
it bugs
our
me.
word isn't it's a Latino word or?
Yeah, machismo, yeah, macho. Muy macho.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, let's see what personal demon this guy is operating from.
Mhm.
You've had men in your life who, okay, go ahead.
In my life, who like embody that tough role, and it like creates uncomfortable environments. It sometimes invites aggression, danger to the situation. It's a certain role playing that I think men actually, it's beneficial.
Oh my
to grow out
God,
of.
shut up.
Oh my God, this guy's the
Yeah,
worst.
role playing. You see, that's the
Yeah,
that's the
they're
kind
not
of
they're
feminine
LARPing as
mindset.
men. They're not really men.
They're LARPing. No.
Yeah.
Yes, criminal men are criminal. You're right. So what?
Yeah,
Like,
what about regular men?
Yeah,
Does this mean that every time a man like takes a stand to protect someone that's weaker, whether it's a woman or a child, that he's automatically just like LARPing, like, you know, come on, pussy, you know, like that no, like there are men who can't handle, you know, uncomfortable situations well, and it might escalate to violence, but that's just a failing of being human. It's not like built into masculinity, you know?
No. No, and like, yes. Okay, so one of the problems that I find with feminists is if you say masculinity has this positive trait, they will say, but what about this subset of men who do this? And it's like, well, yes, but those are psychopaths who have been abused almost
Yeah.
invariably.
Yeah.
You know, look at their female number. You know, okay, so recently I looked at statistics on spousal murder. Okay, now the statistics are pretty much really damaged by a lot of ideological interests. But one thing is there is a really high rate of lesbian murder, period. Like you're 19, if you're a lesbian, you're something like 19 more times likely to be killed by your partner than if you're a straight woman or a bisexual woman with a man. For some reason, the UK is different. I guess English men are just orcs, but whatever. Most places,
Savages.
lesbians are very violent. I would not have expected British men to be savages compared to every other man on the planet. But everywhere else that I've seen the statistics, if you're a lesbian, you're like many, many more times to be likely to be killed. So whenever you look at the statistics on spousal death and they show, oh, this many women die, make sure that they break it down to who's killing them. Because in many cases, it's women, other women.
Yeah.
But regardless, what I wanted to point out was I also looked up a examination on what happens when partners kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, women are unbelievably violent.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a man will kill his wife and he'll just like shoot her. A woman will kill her husband. She'll strangle him to the point of being unconscious and then start eating parts of him in front of his face while he's still alive until he dies of exsanguination or some shit. Like some really dark,
He'll
fucked
drink
up
his
shit.
blood and sacrifice it.
Yeah,
Sacrifice him to Moloch.
Or she'll cut off. She'll savagely murder him with an axe or something.
Yeah.
Like it is when women do this shit, they are beasts. You know, and it may be less often, but when they do it, holy shit, tiger's out of the cage.
Blood for the blood god.
There is no point saying, well, there's this subset of criminal men who express first of all, they're not expressing their masculinity. Okay? Mm-hmm. Or do you think that women who do this shit are expressing their femininity? No. They're expressing their criminality, or they're probably expressing some kind of violence that occurred to them as a child. Sometimes I wonder about women because, you know, they're pretty scary. But I'm pretty sure that the men are doing this because I've seen this. I've seen the stats. Female criminals, you don't have as much stats on this kind of thing. But it is violence, and it is abuse, and it is genetic factors that lead to low impulse control that create these kind of violent men. And yeah, they exist, but it has nothing to do with masculinity.
Yeah.
So the thing is that when you say masculinity has these positive traits, feminists are like, but no, there is this subset of criminals that are criminalizing, and you're like, yes, that's what criminals do. That has nothing to do with masculinity, unless you want to argue that the female criminals have something to do with femininity. And holy shit, if we're going to argue that, women they're not gonna come out very well on that. I think if you're going to say that the criminal elements of women reflect some aspect of femininity, if you're going to say that the criminal elements of men reflect some aspect of masculinity, you're going to lose that one, feminists.
Yep.
You're going to lose it big and hard. And so I think that we should just and the thing is that they don't honestly do that comparison because they would lose.
No, they wouldn't.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's not femininity. A wife eating her husband's face is not femininity.
No, it's not. No.
Shooting his wife is not masculinity.
Right. Exactly.
It's just
it's like we said before. Like masculine traits are just by default associated with like
violence,
antisocial traits. I'll just say that, right?
Yes, it's ridiculous. It
is.
Okay,
let's finish this off. We got like 30 seconds left.
Why do you think it's a role, though? What if that's just who they are?
It's innately in them.
Well, then I think they should go to therapy and work on it, or
But
like play a sport and get out that aggression.
So I understand.
Aggression isn't bad.
I always hear from other male feminists like, oh, that guy's trying to be a macho guy. Why?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. I think sometimes it's not genuine. He's playing a character.
I think that's a bit of a thing for you to say, considering you could be seen as playing a character too.
Yeah, you could be seen as feminism maxing right now. There,
yeah.
Sir. Okay.
Yeah, femin maxing, or LARPing as like a good guy, so. But again, I
don't understand where they're getting in with this.
What are you hoping to accomplish? Like, if there's a man,
who cares? Like, if he's not being criminal, like,
yeah, exactly. Who cares if he's like showing off his plumage? I mean, that's what you guys are doing. That's essentially what it is. If you're saying that a guy is like, playing a character, you're saying that he's like puffing up his chest and pretending to be tough. Well, maybe he's in a situation where he thinks that's what he has to do, right? Like,
but even if he is playing a character, like if he's then how do we go from that to, well, that's bad, not just like neutral?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Like it should just be seen as neutral. So
wait, because that's sort of a feminine thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're doing some femme shaming right now. Everybody's like, engaging. Yeah. Okay, let's finish this off.
Well, I was just gonna say one other thing. This woman in the orange tomato dress, she said aggression isn't bad. Now, I think that they need to define that word a little bit, because I think that the male feminists think of aggression as always bad, and I think that this woman at least, but probably the other women, are thinking that a guy who essentially is assertive and forward and maybe a little like rough or physical or whatever. I think that she's basically telling us like, I'm into that. That's hot, right? It's literally like the kind of brutish man from the romance novels, right? That just like takes what he wants and that's what she likes. So she is sort of like telling us a bit about her taste in men.
Actually, I'm usually the one to de-escalate situations because of how I look and how I am presented. So I de-escalate. And actually, I always tell people I always encourage young men, avoid the fight. Yeah. If you can avoid it, stay away. But if you have to, obviously do what you have to do, like survive. And I would say to women or anything, don't start and actually try to deter good away. Violence should be always the last resort. Violence only brings more violence.
All right, go ahead.
That generally is a masculine virtue, though, dude.
Yeah.
Is to avoid the fight.
You're not shattering toxic masculinity by saying something obvious.
No, you're not shattering masculinity by saying that. Like, there are a lot of guys who have something to prove. what's interesting is a lot of that violence seems to come from a particular type of household that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
That kind of insecure, aggressive violence. Okay,
Yeah.
that seems to be coming from a particular type of household. I think we can all guess, all finish that statement in your own mind. Okay, let's.
That's the end of that. That's the
That's
the
the
last
end?
thing. Violence
Well,
only
what
brings more violence.
What about the lady who said nothing?
Which lady?
Um,
Oh,
there was
I
one-
know. You remember like the redhead or like
Yeah,
brunette
she didn't
woman?
Say, yeah, she didn't say anything.
She didn't have anything to say. No. No,
Now I'm
I don't
curious
think
if
so.
she had- Okay, I guess she didn't want to take part in this at
Well,
all.
no, because you know these when they record these, they're usually a lot longer. You guys remember when Christoph Peckgaz was on one of these discussions and they edited it down to a much shorter thing. So she might have said something and they just didn't think that it was worth putting in the cut.
Oh, okay.
Which is they're basically
really be
erasing
curious.
women's voices. They're silencing women. You know.
I'd really be curious what she had to say.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's the thing. Like a lot of feminism seems to be like, oh, we're the ones who create positive, like, or masculine virtues. We're the ones who make men care about women. We're the ones who make men provide and protect for women. And it's like, no, that's not. No,
Yeah.
Feminism has nothing to do with that. It exploits what already existed and has always existed, which is men's concern for women and their provision and protection of women. We wouldn't have a society without that because women cannot survive on their own.
Mm-hmm.
We're the most helpless female mammal on the damn planet. We're not surviving on our own.
Mm-hmm.
So right then and there, one thing that men do for women is they've gotten them to this point.
Yep.
You know,
That's right.
they've gotten the species to this point. Is women are not doing it on their own. And they've never been able to do it on their own. You want a female animal that can do it on its own? Tiger. Okay?
Yeah.
And we are not that.
No.
So, and that means that there's something about men who wants to make sure that women are provided and protected for. Okay? So the idea that feminism suddenly was like, oh, wow, men have never cared about women in all of human history, and we're going to make them do that. Yeah, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely 100% bullshit. You know,
Yep.
and I have a feminist now who's, I remarked on a strategic choice by Julius Caesar during the battle of against Vercingetorix. I think you know what? Like ancient Gaulish generals have the worst goddamn names. Vercingetorix, I think. At Elysia, I believe. And what happened was he was besieging a town, and he was also under siege. So he had created this earthworks around this Gaulish town that he was sieging because they had brought in a whole bunch of other Gauls to siege his siege. It was siegeception, you see.
Yeah.
And what the Gauls did is they sent out into that kind of no man's land constructed by these two walls all of their useless eaters, so women and children, under the expectation that the Roman men would take them on as their burden. And one of the reasons why Julius Caesar won that battle was because he was like, no. And this feminist looked at that and said, and you say that men are always compassionate. I'm like, no, I never said that. Why this worked was because it was an exception that proved the rule. Right? They were 100% expecting Julius Caesar to abide by the rules of war, which is to keep women and children out of it. And he didn't. He basically treated them like men. So don't turn around and tell me that this one instance where women and children were treated by men is evidence that men are not compassionate to women and children in a way they are not compassionate to other men. Because it is the exception that proves the rule. And the
Yeah.
only reason they got away with it is because it's the exception that proves the rule. But anyway, so it's like, yes, men have cared about women and children throughout all of human history. And they've cared for women and protected and provided for women. And this exception proves that rule.
Yep.
Because of the expectation of what Julius Caesar was going to do and his defiance of that expectation. Okay. All right. So that's what I wanted to say to that. And it really annoys me that feminists simultaneously take responsibility for men caring about women, like they invented that in the 1970s, which is total bullshit. Yes, that's exactly what men needed to jumpstart their concern for women. A bunch of political lesbians yelling at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously, and nagging them. That's exactly what it took. That's exactly the stimulus that men needed to care about women. Ugh. Anyway, so a bunch of not just political lesbians, but also, women who had perfected the art of political nagging to a fine art. That's what it needed. That's what men needed to finally care about women. So anyway, that's just strikes me as absurd. Feminists need to let go of that rhetoric that they were the ones who created men's care about women. They have to let go of this idea that it isn't women themselves. And that's the big thing. Like, men care about women because of women. They don't care about women feminism.
No, of course not.
Feminism co-opting that afforded a very, very small group of women a lot of power and money.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, no woman ever anywhere owes feminism a damn thing.
Nope.
Feminism
It's like that meme, did you make this? Oh, I made this. Did you make this? Yes, I made this. And then they take it and then they say, I made this.
Mm-hmm. Women do not owe feminism anything.
Yep.
They don't owe feminists a damn thing.
Yep.
Feminism owes women everything. Everything.
Yep.
And what feminism has delivered to women is confusion, misery, middle management jobs, cats, and a shitty life in which you don't even get to have somebody who'll have your back in the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like, okay, well, thanks. And women have made a select group of feminist women very influential and very powerful. Geez, it's almost like that patriarchy, except reversed, that they constantly talk about, and how, I guess they're going to say feminism hurts women too. Okay.
It does. That's a good point. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if women think they're benefiting from feminism in the short term, it probably won't serve them in the long term. So, but that is it for that segment. We're going to try and do another one, right? I have some pretty good ones. There's there's
probably better ones.
There is. There's like men are falling behind in society is a nice chunk. Women should also be drafted into the military. That could be interesting. I know that was what Mark Angelucci, may he rest in peace, was fighting the good fight for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's men should take birth control is another interesting one. So those are a few. I don't know if there's any that interest you guys, but do you think men should take birth control? Do you believe women should serve in the military? What do you think are there going to be any downsides to that? Let us know in the comments. And when I say serve, I mean drafted. I mean drafted for the military. So
yeah,
because anybody can choose to serve.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone, once again, we are doing our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. Very appreciated to Meredith G, who supported. And if you would like to join our other very generous supporters and make sure that this show keeps coming each month, once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. You can also send us a message at any time after the show is over. If you enjoyed this show, send us a tip at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you have any questions, if you have any answers to our questions, if you have anything you want to contribute, if you want to tell me to take it hike, if you want to suggest a show topic, Go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
Do it.
If you want to ask me what the hell I'm talking about and why I'm so weird, you can ask me that at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right. So if you guys liked this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on today's show, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Right, activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.